Hey there, as I record this, it is the week after July 4th week, and I know a lot of you are returning from vacations, or maybe you're on vacation this week or preparing to go somewhere next week. So, whatever it is, I know a lot of you that are already retired, you're like, Lee, every week is a vacation, and so that's always awesome to hear. I actually had a conversation with somebody today that spent some time at the beach last week, and he said the time there really made him think a little bit more about his retirement date, and he's probably thinking sooner rather than later. He's got to get his numbers to work, of course, but it's always good to hear folks thinking about sort of that next phase of their lives. So it's really cool to hear that. So I wanted to start today by going over a little bit more into the details of the transition over to Schwab. And I know this is probably a little bit of a recap from our June Client Connection video, but I'm trying to make sure that I keep everybody in the loop as much as possible. So as I told you last time, Labor Day weekend is when we're going to make the transition from TD Ameritrade over to Schwab. And like I said before, the websites that you use to log in is going to be the same. That link will always be on our company website. So when you go to our homepage in the upper right-hand part of the website, click Clients button, and you'll be taken to a page there where you can log in and view your account. So your login credentials are going to remain the same. What they're telling us is nothing's going to change on that end. So you'll have the same username and the same password. And so by now, everybody should have received the negative consent letter that I referenced last time. You should have gotten a letter from AE Wealth Management or Schwab. I can't remember who the letter came from, but also one from our office telling you about that letter. So again, the whole purpose of the letter was just to let you know about the change. There's nothing you've got to do. You don't have to sign anything. You can shred it and throw it away, or just throw it in the trash. It doesn't have any of your personal information in that letter except for your name and address. So if you want to shred that page and chunk the rest, you can certainly do that. So also in the Client Connection email that you're going to get today along with this video, there's a link to what's called, they're calling it the Client Information Hub, and this is a website from Schwab. And so this is going to give you really a lot of useful information about the transition. They're trying to make things as seamless as possible, but we're going to be prepared for hiccups. So we're going to try to keep things going as best we can on our end. So please be patient with us throughout this transition, and we're going to try to make it as easy as possible. But if you click on that link, just make yourself familiar with the timeline and some other information that's on that website. There's also a short video, it's probably 6 minutes, that I think is going to be pretty helpful to sort of let you know more about what's going on and when it happens. I want to switch gears a little bit now to the stock market. So I know markets have been better so far this year. Right now, I think everybody's up for year to date, and that's good. Certainly not enough to make up for last year's losses, but we're finally trending in the right direction. And I know you've heard me say it 1,000 times. Markets go up and markets go down, and it's normal. And I think the best thing that you can do always is to just have a strategy that you can live with in up markets and in down markets. So, there are a few things we're doing right now for some of our clients that I wanted to let you know about. First of all, for those of you that have fixed index annuities or equity indexed annuities, they were probably your favorite account last year because those accounts didn't lose any money. And that's the main reason that we use annuities, is to protect your principal in down markets. And so because markets have been down from recent highs, most of these annuities haven't really seen a whole lot of interest recently. And so for a lot of people, I think it makes sense for us to start taking some of the penalty-free money that's available and adding it over to their TD Ameritrade accounts. So in essence, what we're doing with this small amount of money is we're buying into the market at a lower point than where it was a year ago. And I know I've already talked to some of you about this, and we'll continue to do this as I think it makes sense. It's not something that I'm going to use for everybody. I'm not going to recommend this for everybody all of our clients that have annuities, but for some of you, I do think it makes sense. Now, I know that some of you are are still not real thrilled about the political landscape that we're in right now. So you're not really gung-ho about being in the stock market because you're a little bit nervous. And I get it. A lot of people are nervous about things. And so if that's you, here's an idea that you may want to consider. So it's really called an S&P 500 buffer ETF strategy, or a defined outcome ETF. And I'm going to pull up some images on the screen here because I think it'll make it easier for you to understand. It's really pretty simple. This account is with TD Ameritrade. It's not in an annuity with any insurance company. So it may sound a little bit like how an annuity works, but it's not. So here's the deal. You put your money in the buffer strategy at TD Ameritrade, and you get a downside buffer of 15%, meaning you don't participate in the first 15% of losses in that account over the next year. So if the S&P 500 goes down 12%, at the end of the year, your loss would be zero. You wouldn't lose any money. If it went down 15%, same thing, no losses. Now, if the S&P 500 went down 18%, at the end of that year, you'd only be down 3% because you've got a 15% downside buffer. Now, of course, you're not going to get all the downside. You know, if you don't get all the downside, there's a trade-off on the upside, right? And so for this strategy, the upside is right at 15%. So, for example, if the S&P 500 goes up 8%, you'll be up 8%. If it goes up 15%, you'll be up 15%. If it's up 18%, you're only going to be up 15% because that's what the cap is. So again, downside protection of the first 15% of losses, and then an upside cap of 15%. So it's a pretty simple strategy, and we've got a good number of clients who we've already implemented this strategy for. So who is this for? If this is something you're sort of thinking about, I think it's for somebody who really sort of knows they need to be in the market, but they're nervous about things, and they've already got enough, the right amount of money in the foundation. Remembering back to our foundation walls and roof illustration on the financial house. So that's kind of the first person. I also think it's a great option for somebody who's got an old retirement account and they've got no clue how it's invested, and they hadn't moved it over yet, and they really don't know what to do with it. This is a good way to have some market exposure without having full exposure on the downside. I also think it's a really good option for people who've got money sitting in cash right now and they don't know what to do with it. It's definitely got way more upside than a CD or a money market account. And one more thing I forgot to mention, should have mentioned it earlier. This account, this money is fully liquid, 100% liquid at all time. Even though the buffer ETF has what's called a defined outcome period of a year, meaning a year is when you're going to either realize the cap or the downside buffer. If your plans change, we can move to another strategy. If you got to take money out, you can certainly do that because it's fully liquid at any time. So I think this is why it makes it better than a CD or a savings account. So again, if this is something that you want to talk in a little more detail about, reach out to the office and we'll certainly have a conversation about that. So as I wrap up today, I want to close with just a couple of sort of housekeeping items. If you need our office for anything or need to meet with me or talk with me, please call the office. The phone number is 478-254-3550. That is the best way to reach us. If you want to email our office, please use our client email, which is clients@jlperkinswealth.com. So when you send an email to this email address, it's going to go to everybody in the office. So what I don't want you to do is send me a request to my email on something that needs to be addressed in a timely manner. I get way too many emails every day, and that's the whole reason we created the client's email address, because I don't want something that needs attention sitting in my inbox or in somebody else's inbox, maybe if they're out of the office. So please use that clients@jlperkinswealth.com email address. I actually overlooked an email from a client a couple of weeks ago because I responded to her email the first time, then she replied with a sort of a follow-up question, and I just overlooked the email because it got buried. It's not an excuse, it was completely my fault, but I don't want that to happen. So just make sure you use that client's email. And one other thing, I know a lot of you have my cell phone number, And that's fine. If you've got an emergency and you need to reach me on my cell, please call me. But my compliance firm has told me not to use my cell phone for texting clients on anything that's business related. So as sort of a workaround, our office has a text service that, again, that text is going to go to everybody in the office so things can be addressed quicker. And that number is 478-475-2050. So if you need to text us something, you can certainly do that. And kind of one more reminder about distribution requests, and we've talked about this in the past. If you need a distribution, you need money from your account, please call us. Don't email us. This is really for your protection. We want to make sure that we hear from you before we make any kind of transaction like this on your behalf, because we want to make sure that we're talking to you and not somebody that's pretending to be you. So anyway, I hope you guys appreciate that. So that's it for today. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk soon. Take care.